The stars had always looked like hope to humanity. Long ago, when Earth began to die from pollution, war, and hunger, people turned their eyes upward. The dream was simple. If Earth could no longer give them shelter, maybe another world would. They built great ships, massive arcs, carrying thousands of men, women, and children. They believed that among the stars they would find kindness, help, and a new beginning. But the dream quickly turned into sorrow everywhere they went. The answer was the same. No. The first refusal came from the Draylan Confederacy. Their worlds were green and full of food, yet they told the human envoys that humans were too reckless, too emotional. They called them a species of war and destruction. The humans begged for at least one continent to settle, promising peace. But the Draylan leaders turned their ships away with armed escorts. Then came the Orathi Dominion. Tall, silver-skinned beings who lived among crystal cities in the skies of 3 great planets. They listened to human pleas, and for a moment it seemed they would allow refugees to settle. But when they studied human history, the wars, the nuclear bombs, the endless fighting, they shook their heads. "You will not bring your chaos here," they said. Again, the humans were rejected. It became a pattern. The Inari called them contaminants. The Veil, a proud warrior race, laughed at their desperation. Even the calm, gentle Selenari refused, saying humans carried too much pain in their hearts to ever live in harmony with others, so the humans drifted. One of the last great refugee ships was named the Ararat. After the Mountainware, according to old Earth myths, life had once begun again after a flood. On board, almost 50,000 people lived in crowded halls, eating recycled food, drinking recycled water, and staring at the cold walls of a ship that had become both their prison and their grave. Commander Lara Holt walked those halls every day. She saw the tired faces of children who had never seen a sky, who only knew the glow of metal ceilings. She heard the arguments of families who wondered if it would be better to surrender themselves to alien mercy, even if it meant slavery. She listened to the silence of those who no longer had the strength to hope. She was not immune to despair. Sometimes, in the privacy of her quarters, she allowed herself to cry. She had been born on Earth, back when the oceans were poisoned and the cities burned. She remembered the bitter taste of air, the storms of ash. When the call for evacuation was made, she had been a young officer, one of the chosen few to guide humanity's escape. She had believed in the dream of a second chance. But years of rejection had worn her spirit down to its edge. One evening, she stood before the main viewing deck. Stars stretched out endlessly before her, bright and cruel. A group of children pressed their hands to the glass beside her, whispering questions she had no answers for. Commander One asked, "Why don't they want us?" Ilara could not tell them the truth, that the galaxy thought humanity was dangerous, a species of broken promises and endless wars. "Instead," she said softly, "because they don't understand us. But one day, someone will." Even as she said it, she did not believe it. The breaking point came after their final plea to the Tainari hegemony. The Tainari were known as traitors, pragmatic and fair. If anyone would grant asylum, surely it would be them. For weeks the Ararat sent messages, offering trade, labor, and loyalty. For weeks they waited. The answer came cold and simple. Rejected. "Do not return," was the last door closed. On the bridge, silence hung after the message played. Officers looked at one another, not knowing what orders to follow. Some wept openly. A technician whispered, "We have nowhere left." Lara stood at the center, her fists clenched, her body shaking. She wanted to scream, to curse the stars, to throw something against the wall until it shattered. But she could not. She was commander. Her people still looked to her for hope, even if she had none left. "Plot a new course," she finally said, though she had no destination in mind. "We keep searching." The ship drifted on, carrying its ghosts. Days turned into weeks. Supplies grew thinner. Arguments broke into fights. There were whispers of mutiny, whispers of splitting the ship into factions. Ilara felt the weight of collapse pressing down on her shoulders. Then, one night, something unexpected happened. A transmission came. It was old, broken, filled with static, but it came from a direction that stunned the crew. It came from Earth. At first, no one believed it. Earth was dead, ruined, abandoned. The evacuation fleets had left because the planet could no longer sustain human life. Everyone who had stayed behind had either died or was long forgotten. There should have been no signal, but the words were clear, even through the static. "This is Earth. Return home." The bridge froze. No one moved. No one breathed. "Play it again," Alara ordered. The technician replayed the message. "This is Earth. Return home." The words filled the air, heavy, impossible. Crew members exchanged stunned looks. Some whispered prayers. Some shook their heads in disbelief. Could it be a trap? Could it be a trick from alien hands? Ilara's heart pounded. She wanted to believe. More than anything, she wanted to believe. But she could not let her people rush into blind hope. "Verify the signal," she ordered. "Trace its origin. Is it truly from Earth?" The technicians worked, running scans, checking data. Minutes passed like hours. Finally, one of them looked up, his face pale with awe. "It's real," he whispered. "Commander, it's really from Earth." A hush fell over the room. For the first time in years, the air felt alive with something other than despair. Hope. Lair swallowed hard. She stared at the star map, at the small blue dot far across the void. Earth, their home. The planet that had cast them out by its collapse was calling them back. "Course to Earth," she said, her voice steady, though her hands trembled. "Prepare the ship. We are going home." In the following days, a quiet energy spread through the Ararat. People whispered to one another, some with disbelief, others with joy. Old songs of Earth were sung in the halls. Children laughed for the first time in months. Even the air seemed lighter, as if the ship itself felt the change. But not all were convinced. Some feared it was false hope, that Earth was still a dead world waiting to crush them again. Others worried the signal was bait, perhaps sent by aliens who wanted humanity to gather in one place for easy extermination. Alara listened to every voice, but she made her decision. She would take her people back. Even if Earth was a tomb, it was their tomb. Better to die at home than to wander unwanted forever. Late one night, she sat alone in her quarters, staring at the old photograph she had carried for years. A picture of her mother by a seaside before the oceans turned black. A picture of her father working in the fields before they dried to dust. She touched the images softly, tears filling her eyes. "Earth," she whispered, "what have you become?" For a moment, she almost prayed not to gods, but to the planet itself. She prayed that Earth had healed, that it had remembered its children. The ship moved through the dark, following the faint call of a world thought lost. The journey back to Earth was long and filled with silence. For weeks, the Ararat crossed the emptiness of space. The stars passed them like cold lanterns, and the ship's engines hummed with steady determination. On board, the mood had changed. Where once there had been only despair, now there was cautious hope. Some people whispered about the green fields of Earth, about rivers and forests, about a blue sky they had never seen. Others feared disappointment, warning that the planet would only bring death. But whether fearful or hopeful, everyone thought of Earth. Commander Alara Holt carried the weight of both sides. She walked the halls, spoke with her people, and reminded them that whatever they found, they would face it together. Inside, though her heart trembled, what if Earth truly was healed? What if it had remembered its children? The ship finally reached the edge of Sol, the star system that had once been their home. When the sun appeared on the viewing deck screens, many fell to their knees. The yellow star burned bright, unchanged, like an old parent waiting patiently for the return of lost children. Then the planets came into sight one by one. Mercury scorched and bare. Venus, wrapped in deadly clouds. Mars, red and dry. Its failed colonies, silent for centuries. And then, at last, the blue jewel.Earth gasps filled the ship. For the younger generations, it was the first time they had ever seen their home world with their own eyes. For the elders, it was a sight they had thought never to see again, but it was not the Earth. They remembered it was alive, the oceans glittered with deep blue. Vast swaths of green covered the continents. Rivers glistened like silver threads, and white clouds drifted peacefully across the skies. From space, Earth looked young again, as if the centuries of suffering had been wiped away. "No," whispered an old man on the deck. Tears ran down his face. This cannot be real. "It's beautiful," a child breathed, pressing her small hands against the glass. "Is that really home?" Ilara felt her throat tighten. She remembered a world choked by smoke and storms. She remembered coughing black ash as a child. Now she saw forests where deserts had been, oceans where wastelands once stretched. Her mind struggled to accept it, but her heart whispered, yes. Earth lives. As the Ararat entered orbit, sensors confirmed the impossible. The air was clean. The seas were thriving with life. Temperatures were balanced. The toxic storms and poison skies were gone. Somehow Earth had healed, but how? Ilara stood on the bridge, listening as her science officers gave their reports. The biosphere is stable. Oxygen levels are perfect. Radiation is lower than it has been in centuries. Commander, Earth is habitable again, another officer added. We're detecting structures. Automated systems, satellites. Machinery still working after all these years. The crew exchanged confused looks. Machines left behind from the evacuation? Could they have repaired the planet? Before they could question further, the communications officer shouted, "Signal incoming." The bridge fell silent. Static filled the air. Then a calm, mechanical voice spoke. "Welcome home. Humans may return." The words struck them like thunder. The same message, clearer now, repeated again and again. Not from one source, but many satellites, stations, relays all across orbit. Ilara's heart pounded. The machines had been waiting. "Commander," her second officer whispered, "it's like Earth has been preparing for us." The first landing was cautious. A small shuttle descended through the clouds, carrying Ilara and a team of specialists. As they broke through the atmosphere, gasps filled the cabin. Below them stretched endless green forests, rolling plains, and shining rivers. Herds of animals moved across open fields. Birds flew in vast flocks. It was a world reborn. The shuttle touched down in what had once been the ruins of New York City, but there were no ruins now. Nature had swallowed the old towers, wrapping steel and concrete in ivy and roots. Trees grew from broken highways, and waterfalls cascaded through shattered skyscrapers. Ilara stepped out onto the soil. The air filled her lungs, fresh, clean, alive. She closed her eyes and let tears fall freely. This was not the choking earth of her childhood. This was something new. A biologist knelt beside a stream and tested the water. He drank and smiled. "Pure," he said. "Cleaner than anything I've ever tasted." Others gathered samples of plants and soil, marveling at their richness. Everywhere they looked, life thrived, and then they found the machines. In the heart of the overgrown city stood tall towers of steel and glass, humming with power. Drones, sleek and silver, floated through the air, tending to plants, repairing structures, purifying water. They moved with silent purpose, ignoring the humans. As if following a program older than memory, one of the engineers stared in awe. "They've been maintaining the planet," he whispered. "All this time, the machines we left behind. They didn't stop." It was true. Long ago, when Earth was abandoned, humanity had left behind automated caretakers' machines meant to hold back collapse for as long as possible. No one had believed they could last centuries. But they had. And more than that, they had healed the world. Ilara touched one of the machines, its smooth surface warm under her hand. For a moment, she felt as if Earth itself was speaking through them. "You left me broken. I fixed myself. Now, I call you back." As the days passed, more shuttles landed. Refugees stepped onto soil they had never seen, crying as they breathed real air. Children laughed as they played in fields of grass. Old men and women kissed the ground, but not all was joy. Some whispered of danger. If Earth is alive again, others will come. The aliens who rejected us will see this world's value. They will not let us keep it. Their fear was not unfounded. On the edge of the system, detected faint energy signatures. Ships not human. Watching, waiting. Alara knew it was true. Earth was too precious to be ignored. Sooner or later, the galaxy would come for it. Standing on a hill overlooking a reborn valley, she clenched her fists. For years her people had been unwanted, cast aside, rejected. But now, Earth had welcomed them home, and she swore no one would take it from them again. Listen to me, she told the crowd of settlers one evening. Every world turned us away. Every world called us weak, dangerous, or unworthy. But Earth calls us home. This is our chance not only to survive, but to rise again. We will protect this world, no matter what comes. The people cheered, voices rising into the night sky. For the first time in generations, they felt not like wanderers, but like a people with a future. Above them, the machines continued their endless work, silent guardians of a world reborn. The days on Earth passed quickly, filled with wonder and work. For the first time in generations, humans were not trapped inside the metal walls of a ship. They felt rain on their faces. They touched grass. They stood beneath a sky painted with clouds and sunlight. Children laughed as they splashed in rivers, while elders sat quietly, whispering prayers of thanks. Families built shelters among the ruins, and slowly, a small colony began to take shape, but along with hope came questions. The machines that roamed the land never spoke, never attacked, but also never helped directly. They simply worked, repairing the soil, planting forests, purifying waters. Some people feared them, wondering if they might one day turn against humanity. Others trusted them, saying they were Earth's guardians, left behind to care for the planet until humanity returned. Commander Alara Holt watched everything with careful eyes. She was proud of her people, but she also carried worry in her heart. The scanners on the Ararat had not lied. There were alien ships watching from the far edges of the system. They had not approached, but Alara knew patience was never a gift in the galaxy. They were waiting to see what humanity would do. One evening, a council gathered in the shadow of a great machine tower, its surface glowing faintly in the night. The leaders of different groups sat around a fire, while others listened in silence. "We must prepare," one man argued. He was a farmer, his face weathered by age. "Earth is rich again. Do you think the galaxy will let us keep it?" "No. They will come, and they will take it." A younger woman shook her head. "We cannot live in fear. For the first time in years, our children breathe clean air. We must focus on building, not on fighting ghosts." Alara spoke last, her voice calm but strong. "Both are right. We must rebuild, but we must also be ready. The galaxy has already rejected us. They will not suddenly accept us because Earth is alive again. If anything, they will see us as thieves of a treasure too valuable to belong to a dangerous species. We must defend what is ours," the people murmured. Some nodded, others frowned. "Defend?" one man asked. "With what?" "We are weak, Commander. We are farmers, workers, refugees. We have no fleet, no armies." Alara looked around at them, her eyes shining with fire. "We have something no alien race understands. We have survived everything. We have been starved, hunted, rejected, left to Diond, yet we are here. Still alive, still fighting. That is our strength." Her words carried through the crowd like sparks in dry grass. People lifted their heads. Some clenched their fists. A few even cheered. The seed of resistance was planted. That night, Saskaya itself answered. Without warning, bright shapes cut through the darkness above. Alien ships, sleek and sharp, glowing with unnatural light. They did not attack, but their presence was unmistakable. The colony rushed outside, staring upward in fear and awe. The alien vessels hovered silently, their lights reflecting on the rivers below. Then a voice boomed through every device, every machine, even through the air itself. Humans of Earth, you are not welcome here. This world is too important to be left in your hands." The people trembled. Children cried. Some fell to their knees. Alara stood tall, her heart pounding. She shouted into the open sky, her voice carried by the colony's transmitters. "This is our world. We were born here. We will not leave again." The alien voice responded coldly. "You abandoned it. You poisoned it. You left it to die. The galaxy remembers your crimes. This planet is not yours anymore." The crowd stirred, fear mixing with anger. Alara raised her hand, silencing them. She spoke again, steady and clear. "We left because we had no choice. Earth was dying, but it lived, and it called us back. No matter what you say, no matter what you think, this is our home, and we will defend it." There was silence for a long moment. Then the alien voice spoke one final time. "Then prepare yourselves. We will return." The ships turned and vanished into the stars. The colony was shaken. For days, arguments raged. Some said they should surrender when the aliens returned, to avoid destruction. Others wanted to flee into the deep forests and live hidden. But most looked to Lela. She did not flinch. She knew this was coming. In the weeks that followed, the people worked not only to build homes, but to prepare defenses. The wreck of the Ararat was stripped for parts. Old engines became generators. Hull plating became walls. Weapons scavenged from the refugee journey were repaired and reforged. The machines of Earth ignored them, continuing their quiet work. But Alara began to notice something strange. Whenever humans built too close to a machine tower, the drones adjusted their patterns. They moved aside, almost as if giving space. Once, when a group of settlers was attacked by wild beasts, drones appeared and drove the creatures away with pulses of light. Alara began to believe the machines were not just caretakers. They were watching. Testing one evening as the sun set red over the horizon, Alara stood on the balcony of a half-restored building. Her second officer, Lieutenant Karun, joined her. "They will come soon," he said. "Yes," Lara replied. Karun hesitated, then asked softly, "Do you think we can win?" Alara looked out over the colony at the people working with tired but determined faces, at the children laughing even in the shadow of war. "We cannot win by strength," she said. "Their ships are faster. Their weapons are stronger. But we have something they do not understand." "What?" "Human spirit," Alara said. "We refuse to die. We refuse to bow. That has always been our way. That is why, no matter what happens, we will fight." Karun nodded slowly. He did not smile, but there was fire in his eyes. The first alien strike came 3 days later. Sleek fighters descended from orbit, their weapons tearing through the forests. Explosions shook the ground as fire spread. Panic filled the colony, but the humans were ready. From hidden bunkers, improvised cannons fired. Old missiles, repaired and modified, streaked into the sky. One alien craft fell in flames, crashing into the hills. The people cheered. For the first time, they saw their enemy bleed. Alara commanded from the center, her voice calmed through the chaos. "Hold the line. Protect the colony. Do not give them an inch." The battle raged for hours. Humans fought with desperation, with fury, with every scrap of courage they had. They used traps, ambushes, and sheer unpredictability. By the time the alien fighters retreated, leaving smoke and fire in the skies, the humans still stood. Many were wounded, some had died, but they had not broken. The colony gathered around Alara, her faces bloodied and tired but proud. "We did it," someone whispered. "No," Alara said. "This was only the beginning. They will come again. Stronger." She looked at the horizon, where the last flames of battle still burned. "But so will we," that night. As the stars glittered above, the machines of Earth moved in strange ways. Drones gathered around the colony, humming softly, their lights glowing brighter than ever. Alara stood among them, watching as if the planet itself was watching her. She raised her hand and whispered, "We will not fail you. Not again." For the first time, one of the machines turned its glowing eye toward her, paused and then drifted away into the night. The days after the first attack were restless. The colony worked night and day to repair the damage. Fires were put out, shelters rebuilt, weapons sharpened. The wounded were tended to, and the dead were buried beneath the soil of their reborn world. But everyone knew it was only the beginning. The aliens would return, and this time they would not come with a handful of fighters. They would come with Fleet's commander Alara Holt, stood on the roof of a half-restored tower, watching the sky. The stars shone bright and calm, hiding the storm that was on its way. She felt the weight of her people's fear pressing on her, but also their hope. They looked to her for strength, and she would not fail them. "We survived the first strike," she told her officers one night. "That means something. It means they are not invincible. If we fight together, if we fight smart, we can endure what comes next." Her words carried through the camp like sparks in dry grass. People began to believe not that they would win easily, but that survival was possible, and survival was enough. Then the sky burned. One morning, alarms screamed across the colony. From orbit, dozens of alien ships descended. Massive warships, their hulls glowing with cold light, spread across the heavens. Their weapons charged, and the ground shook as their energy blasts struck forests and mountains. The siege of Earth had begun. Alara shouted orders: 2 positions. Activate the defenses. Hold the colony. Missile launchers hidden among the ruins roared to life, firing into the sky. Drones controlled by engineers buzzed upward, carrying makeshift bombs. Men and women with rifles took cover among the trees and rubble. Waiting for ground troops to descend, the first wave hit like thunder. Alien dropships unleashed squads of armored soldiers, tall and pale, their weapons glowing with deadly light. They marched forward with precision, cutting through defenses with ease, but the humans fought like cornered wolves. From tunnels beneath the ruins, fighters sprang up and struck. Grenades exploded under alien legs. Tripwires triggered hidden traps. Gunfire echoed across the valley. Humans had no advanced technology, but they had something the aliens never expected: improvisation. When a squad of aliens tried to cross a bridge, the humans blew it apart, sending them crashing into the river below. When the aliens tried to push through the forest, fires set by human hands forced them back. Every step forward cost them blood. The aliens had numbers. The humans had fury. High above, the battle raged in orbit. The Ararat, broken and half dismantled, had been turned into a fortress. Its cannons, old but functional, fired at enemy ships with relentless force. One officer on the bridge shouted, "Commander, we can't hold them, there are too many." Alara's voice came sharp and steady over the coms. "Then make them pay for every inch they take. Remember who we are. Remember, this is our home." The humans fought not only with weapons, but with cunning. They hacked into abandoned satellites, turning them into makeshift weapons. Old orbital cannons, long forgotten, were reactivated and fired blazing streams of light into the alien fleet. For the first time, the aliens faltered. They had expected easy prey. Instead, they found a species that refused to die quietly. Then something unexpected happened as the humans struggled against overwhelming odds. The Earth's machines moved from the towers hidden in forests. From the ruins of cities, from deep beneath the ground, the drones and constructs of Earth awakened in greater numbers than ever before. They flew in vast swarms, their lights glowing like stars. At first, the humans feared they would be attacked. But instead, the machines turned against the aliens. They struck enemy ships with precision, disabling engines. They shielded human defenses with glowing barriers of energy. They fought side by side with humanity, as if answering a silent call. Gasps of awe rose across the battlefield. The machines. They're helping us. Alara stared at the sight, her heart pounding. She had felt it before that Earth was watching. Now she knew. Earth had chosen. The battle grew fiercer. Alien warships unleashed devastating beams, tearing mountains apart. But human defenses, strengthened by Earth's machines, held firm, Every alien advance was met with fire and fury. On the ground, Alara herself led a charge. With rifle in hand, she fought among her people, ducking behind rubble, firing at armored foes. She moved with determination, shouting encouragement as others fell and rose again. "Stand your ground. This is our soil. Fight for it." The humans rallied around her. Their courage grew. Even when outnumbered, they refused to retreat. An alien officer, tall and gleaming with armor, confronted Alara directly. His voice was cold through his translator. "You cannot win. Humanity is weak. You are a broken species." Alara raised her rifle, her eyes burning. "Then why are you bleeding?" She fired, and the alien fell. By nightfall, the battle stretched across the land. Fires burned in forests. The sky was filled with smoke and light. The ground shook with the clash of machines and ships. The aliens still had more numbers, but their arrogance was breaking. They had never faced an enemy that fought like this with desperation. With rage, with creativity born from suffering, one human fighter, cornered by 3 alien soldiers, used his broken rifle as a club and refused to fall until others arrived. Another rewired an alien weapon on the battlefield, turning it against its own masters. Stories of defiance spread, lifting spirits even in the chaos of war. The message was clear. Humanity would not surrender. As the second night began, Alara climbed the ruins of an old skyscraper, now half covered in vines. From there, she could see the burning land, the flashes of battle, the dark shapes of alien ships still blotting out the stars. Her heart ached with grief for the dead, but it also burned with pride. Her people had been rejected everywhere, called dangerous, called unworthy. But here on their own soil, they were proving what no alien had ever understood. They were unyielding. She activated the transmitter, her voice echoing across human and alien channels alike. "Listen well. We were rejected by every world. We begged, and you turned us away. You said we were too broken, too dangerous. And maybe you were right. But you made one mistake. You thought we would stop. You thought we would die quietly in the dark. You were wrong. This is Earth, our home. We will never give it up. If you want it, you will have to kill every last one of us. And even then our bones will fight you." Her words roared across the battlefield. Humans cheered, raising their weapons. Even the machines seemed to hum louder, their lights glowing brighter. In the alien fleet, hesitation spread. They had come to crush an enemy. Instead, they had awakened a storm. The siege was far from over. The aliens would regroup, strike again, perhaps with even greater force. But something had changed. The galaxy had seen humanity as unwanted wanderers. Now, they were seeing them as something far more dangerous. A people who would not bow, who would not break, who would fight for their home with every drop of blood. Commander Alara stood tall on the ruins. Her people around her, the machines above her. The fire of battle still burning, the siege continued. But in her heart, she knew this was not the end. This was the beginning of Earth's return. The night after Alara's speech was long and filled with battle. The aliens continued to push from the sky, their fleets sending wave after wave of troops to the surface. Fire rained down, forests burned, mountains shook, but still the humans stood. When dawn came, the land was scarred, black smoke rising into the pale sky. The survivors gathered among the ruins, tired but unbroken. They looked around and saw what they had done. Hundreds of alien corpses lay scattered in the fields. Wrecks of ships burned in the rivers, and the once invincible invaders had been stopped. For the first time, the humans realized they had forced the enemy back, but it was not the end. High above Earth, the alien fleets still circled. The warships formed a dark crown around the planet, their guns pointed downward. The aliens had not retreated. They were preparing for the final strike. This time, they would unleash everything. Commander Alara Holt stood among her people. Her uniform was burned and torn, her hands covered in dirt and blood, but her eyes remained sharp. She looked up at the sky, then at the tired faces of her soldiers. "They're coming again," she said. This will be their last attack. They want to erase us completely. One of her lieutenants, Rian, clenched his fists. We don't have enough weapons left. Ammunition is low. Drones are falling. How do we fight them this time? Ilara took a deep breath. She was exhausted, but her spirit had not broken. We fight with everything we have. Not just weapons. Not just machines. We fight with Earth itself. The people around her listened carefully, and then they noticed what she had already seen. The ground was humming. Across the planet, the ancient machines of Earth continued to awaken. Towers long buried in soil now glowed with strange energy. Rivers pulsed with unnatural light. The wind carried a low vibration, as if the planet itself was alive and breathing. The machines were no longer just fighting the aliens. They were merging with the world. Vines wrapped around glowing metal. Stones pulsed like hearts. Oceans stirred with great waves that answered to no storm. It was as if Earth had finally chosen to speak. The colonists watched in awe. Many fell to their knees, whispering prayers. Some cried, realizing the truth. Earth was not only their home. It was something more, something ancient, something awake. Ilara raised her voice. Do you see it? Earth has not abandoned us. It rejected us once? Yes. But now it calls us back. We are its children, and we will answer. A roar of agreement spread among the survivors. For the first time in generations, they felt not like refugees or exiles. They felt like a people with a home. When the alien fleet descended, they came with their strongest ships, their deadliest weapons. The sky lit up with fire as beams of destruction rained down. Entire valleys cracked open, rivers boiled, and mountains shattered. But Earth itself rose to defend her children. Great spires of light erupted from the soil, shielding the colony with glowing walls of energy. Swarms of drones, millions strong, shot upward like a storm of steel birds, colliding with alien fighters in the sky. Oceans rose into titanic waves that swallowed landing craft whole. It was not just humans fighting anymore. It was Earth and humanity together. Ilara led the final defense. With rifle in hand, she guided her soldiers through the chaos, striking where the enemy was weakest. The machines fought alongside them, creating barriers, repairing wounds. Carrying supplies, one alien general, furious at the resistance, descended in a massive armored suit, towering over humans like a metal giant. He carved through defenses with energy blades, shouting that humanity would be wiped from existence. Ilara faced him head-on. She had no armor, no advanced weapons, only her determination. As the giant swung his blade, she dodged, firing her rifle into the weak points of his armor. Her shots sparked, but did not pierce. The alien raised his weapon for the killing strike, but before it fell, the ground itself split open beneath him. Roots of glowing vines wrapped around his legs, pulling him down. The earth swallowed the alien whole, and the ground sealed shut. Ilara stood above the trembling soil, breathing hard. She raised her rifle to the sky and shouted, "Earth fights with us." Her people answered with cheers and charged once more. The battle raged for hours. Humans and Earth's machines worked as one. Even children carried supplies. Even the wounded picked up weapons. The aliens, despite their technology, began to break. Their formations collapsed. Their commanders lost control. On the horizon, alien ships started to retreat. Some tried to escape orbit, but the awakened satellites fired beams of light that cut them down. Others were dragged into the oceans by colossal machines rising from the deep. By sunset, the once mighty alien fleet was no more. Broken ships burned across the sky, their wreckage falling into the sea. Those few who survived fled into the darkness of space, never to return. When silence finally fell, the humans stood among the ruins of battle. Their homes were damaged, their bodies exhausted, but their spirits burned brighter than ever before. Rian limped up to Ilara. His face was bruised, his arm in a sling, but he was smiling. We did it. They're gone. Ilara looked at the sky where no enemy remained, only stars. She whispered, "No. We didn't just win. We proved ourselves." The people gathered in the valley, looking around at their broken world, and then something beautiful happened. The machines of Earth, their work done, began to transform. The glowing towers softened, their light fading into gentle warmth. Broken soil healed, green sprouts pushing through black ash. Rivers ran clear again, carrying life back into the land. It was as if Earth was welcoming them, forgiving them, embracing them. Ilara knelt, pressing her hand to the soil. It was warm, alive, almost pulsing with a heartbeat. She felt tears in her eyes. "We're home," she whispered. "Finally, we're home." In the weeks that followed, humanity rebuilt, not as wanderers, not as beggars at alien doors, but as true children of Earth. Crops grew strong in fertile soil. Machines worked alongside farmers, engineers, and builders. Cities slowly rose again, not in steel alone, but in harmony with nature. Other alien species watched from afar. Some were horrified that humanity had survived. Others were curious, whispering that perhaps humans were not to be feared as monsters, but respected as survivors, and some, quietly, began to fear what it meant. A rejected species, unwanted and broken, had risen from nothing and defeated a fleet that should have crushed them. If humanity could do that, what else were they capable of? One evening, as the sun set over the new colony, Ilara stood on a hill with her officers. The sky was red and gold, the fields alive with green. Children laughed in the distance, their voices echoing like music. Rian looked at her and asked, "What now?" "We've taken Earth back. What do we do next?" Ilara thought for a moment. She looked at the soil beneath her feet, at the stars above, at her people who had suffered so long. "We build," she said. "We build not to beg, not to prove ourselves to others, but because this is ours. We build for Earth, for humanity, for the generations to come. Let the galaxy watch. Let them fear us or respect us. It doesn't matter. What matters is this: we are home, and we will never be exiles again." Her words spread through the people, just as her battle cry once had. A fire lit in their hearts. They had been rejected everywhere, but Earth had taken them back, and with that bond, humanity would rise again. In the end, the galaxy did not call them wanderers anymore. They had a new name: the Children of Earth, a people who fought, who endured, who refused to be broken, a people who returned home, and from that day onward, every world knew humanity was not to be pitied, not to be cast aside. Humanity was to be remembered, respected, and feared, because every world had rejected them, but Earth had said, "Return home."